it's time to delegate when they can be at least 80% as good as you. Okay. 100% is impossible. Let them go out once they're about 80% as good as you, and they'll figure out the rest of the 20%. Those of you watching right now, and those of you who had been hearing about this episode coming up, you may have noticed that I was supposed to be with someone named Abhinav or Abby, but that didn't happen, and we have Stephany here instead. Long story short, it's because Abby had a bit of a family emergency come up, and so I found out about this maybe 30, 45 minutes ago before the episode. So kind of scrambled and rushed and messaged a good 10, 20 people to see if anyone could jump on. And about 10 minutes ago, Steph was like, sure, what is this? And so I appreciate her willingness to just sort of throw herself at this, not really knowing what it is. But she is an entrepreneur and she has a business. She does sales. So she's definitely qualified in terms of what this is about. And this is the first episode of the series. So I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a pretty cool experience, both for me, because it's like live coaching with someone I'm basically just getting to know right now in terms of their business. And maybe personally I've known them, but probably not their business too well. But also I think it's going to be a great opportunity for whoever's on the call, right? So you get basically this 1 hour call, and I'm really just focused on doing everything I possibly can to make sure that you leave this call with something that you can take action on, probably not tonight because it's going to be 7 o'clock, but tomorrow or something like that as well. And then finally, for you guys watching from home or wherever you are, the reason why I like this is, again, content is great, but it's sometimes a little too specific and not really raw, and so sometimes it becomes not necessarily relatable or again actionable or something sometimes. And so I thought pitching in and seeing how a coaching call might go, you might be able to get a couple golden nuggets yourself. So really excited to do this. And again, Stephany, thank you so much for saving my butt.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so sort of just diving in real quick. So what is your business? What's the business we're going to be talking about today?
I'm sorry, there's a cat. My business is a cleaning company. I clean residential and commercial as well.
Okay.
And we are in the East End, Ottawa. And okay. I'm not only an entrepreneur, I do all my heart in my business. So I do, I'm very friendly with my clients and everybody. So for me, it's like a family. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you sell cleaning services, residential, commercial. What's the percentage of residential to commercial? Is it like 50-50? Is it like 70% residential, or what's that look like?
I would say 80% residential.
Okay.
And 20% commercial.
Cool. By the way, if you guys watching are wondering why I'm kind of looking down here, it's because I've got my screen where her face is down here, and whereas the webcam is up here. So I'm going to be ignoring you guys a little bit because I really want to focus on Stephany, of course. The other thing too, and by the way, Steph, when you're looking at the screen right now, can you see the writing clear enough at all? Or I think I'm going to go to blue though, because I know blue is a bit more thick, I guess we could say. So you'll probably be able to see better. So, okay, so we have a cleaning business, 80% residential, 20% commercial. So we'll say primarily residential. So you're working a lot of B2C is what you focus on. So, okay, so what I want to do with you today is I want to basically break down your sales system, your sales cycle. So, basically from lead to close and beyond. And then I want to see if I can find an opportunity for you to do better, right? Whether that's through a system or through specific strategies or techniques or things that you can do. Fortunately, I've actually been in the cleaning industry. I've done window cleaning business for a couple of years, so that's pretty cool. But in the end, as I'm sure you might know though, sales is sales, right? It's one person influencing another to make a buying decision. So it's human to human. So either way, it's going to be relatable. So let's start from the top, okay? So the first thing that happens when it comes to sales is you receive a lead. Now, your leads, where do they come from typically?
Mostly from Facebook. People message me.
Okay. So you've got
Sometimes from a website.
From what, sorry? Say that again.
It's from my website.
Okay. So we'll say Facebook is like a typically like you could call that like a warm lead sort of thing because they've obviously come to you. And then you've got your website. Okay.
Yeah, and LinkedIn works very well as well.
LinkedIn?
For me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I never thought of LinkedIn.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Very cool. If you don't mind me asking, how do you use LinkedIn to support your business in terms of leads?
I have a short description on the page about myself. I have a friendly face, so I'm just
hey, it counts.
with people.
Cool.
So yeah, all my business is with friendly. I deal with friendly way first. I'm not trying to sell. It comes naturally.
Good. Cool. And so, okay, so we've got Facebook, web, LinkedIn. Another one I'm sure is obviously referrals, right?
Yes, a lot. Yes, yes.
For sure. Good. And so is there any other sort of main places where we have it? It's mostly like, online and then referrals. Do you do any kind of like door-to-door or anything like that?
No, I don't.
Okay, so no door-to-door. Cool. So we've got our leads. So then after the lead, what happens? So a lead comes in. What's the next step that you take to try to convert them into an actual sale?
Sometime I call them directly. Like if they leave a phone number, I like to contact them, and it sells pretty quickly with the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I have more details as well. So sometimes it's the email, because I usually get the email or a private message.
Okay. Yeah, so when you're like, so for example, if you're on Facebook or something, you guys are going through Messenger, one of the things that'll happen is you won't get their phone number necessarily, but you'll get their email. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. I am trying to contact very quickly because I don't want to lose my time with back and forth.
Yeah, no, for sure. Not only is it that you don't want to lose your time, but you also don't want the lead to go cold, right? So you need to act really fast with leads like this.
Exactly.
Okay, so they come in as a lead, you give them either a call or an email, and that's basically where we are. Okay, so once you've given them a call, what are you trying to do on that call? What's the goal of that call? Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry. Oops, sorry, it cut.
Oh, okay.
On-site.
On-site visit, is that what you said?
No, when I did that, I am trying to book an estimate.
Yeah, okay, estimate, perfect. Okay. So you go over to their house, obviously, to go do an estimate and evaluate what it's going to cost for them to actually do work with you, correct?
Exactly.
Perfect. So once the estimate happens, you, I assume, try to typically close on the spot, or do you do that, or do you have to go home, do the pricing, all that?
It depends, because sometimes I do an estimate just before the cleaning. So I evaluate and I do the cleaning after.
Okay, cool. Yeah, quick turnover, why not?
Sometimes it's an estimate, then we book right away the cleaning.
Okay. And then sometimes, obviously, you also have people that you need to follow up with in the future as well?
Yes, but they usually, when they contact me, that means they need helps right now. So.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, so most of the time, they'll close.
Yeah, like 99% of the time.
Nice. Okay. So that's definitely good. Okay, so now let's get into some, and then that's going to be it there, right? You get to the follow-up, and then either you chase them or they don't, or again, in your case, they usually just close. So now let's look into some numbers. So let's say you had 10 leads come in, right? So let's use just number 10 as a simple number. How many of them will you actually get on the phone with and book into an appointment? So out of 10 leads that come in, how many turn into an appointment?
Almost all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
80% or so, maybe?
Like exactly 9 on 10, and let's say that.
Okay. So basically 90%, if they've reached out to you, like they said, hey, Stephany, I'm interested in getting some cleaning done, 90% of them you'll get into an appointment. You'll actually go to their home and do an estimate, correct?
Yes.
Cool, very cool. So now when we get, you show up for the estimate, out of those 9 that you have booked an appointment with, and this like including like maybe they end up canceling or something like that, right? So cancellation is included and such. How many of them will you actually complete 9 out of 9 estimates, or do you have like 1 out of 9 that might cancel or reschedule or something?
This happened. Sometimes they do reschedule the estimate, and I just make sure that I reschedule right now.
Okay, good.
We don't forget.
Yeah. So we go from 10 leads.
So maybe let's say like maybe 1 out of 10 will cancel and never call back.
Okay, cool. So now we're down. Booked. 8 complete. Cool. So we got 10 leads, 9 get booked, 8 will complete, give or take, of course. Usually you'll try to reschedule them, which is good. Now, out of the 8 that you actually complete, and it sounds like it's a high rate, but out of the 8, how many do you actually close and are like, yes, I want to move forward, and they pay?
Yeah, if I visit them, I usually close, like I get the contract.
Okay. So we'll say like 7.5.
Yeah, minimum. Oh, yeah.
5 close. Cool. And then obviously we just have the 0.5 that go back into follow-up.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if this is accurate, these are obviously really nice numbers, right? This is like good. You're looking at like basically a 90% booking ratio. You're looking at 8 getting completed. So that's super solid. You're closing very high and you have very little to follow up on. So that's really good. So then, because looking at a numerical thing, this is super impressive. So congratulations. What I have to ask you then is, in your sales cycle, where do you feel is somewhere you could improve, or that you feel what is holding you back from the next level in sales?
I think my problem is I don't necessarily trust asking for help, more help around me.
Okay.
That I feel like I always have to do everything. That is my biggest problem.
Yeah. No, that's definitely very typical, because you're kind of startup, right? How long have you been in business now?
In 4 years, 4 years now and a half.
Oh, so, 4. Okay, no. So you're definitely past startup. So you're pretty established. You've got all your systems and all that. So okay, that's cool. So are you the only one selling right now?
Yes, I am the only one.
Okay. Interesting.
So I do everything, but I do have employees.
Right, that of course do the actual production side of things, the cleaning, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. And okay, so interesting. So you know what? Maybe our conversation today is going to be less about you and your sales, but should be more about you and getting other people to sell for you. Would that be something that would really?
I would love that. I would love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, good. So we'll sort of change the conversation in that direction. That's totally fine. And I mean, this is a lot of what coaching is just sort of going with the flow of what your client needs, right? So So really high rates. Now the next question becomes, well, how do we get someone else to do it? Because I assume if you're doing all the sales, and sorry, if you don't mind me asking, how much revenue did you generate in 2018?
Actually, I doubled my salary in 2018. Nice. I am now at almost $200,000 a year.
Awesome. That's in revenue, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome. So you sold pretty much $200,000 alone is what you did, sort of thing.
Yeah.
How was that? How was the lifestyle? Was it like pretty busy or?
Crazy. Always crazy. I just finished work when you're asking me if I want to beat life.
Cool. Okay. Sounds good. I guess actually, you know what, let's just for the audience a little bit, I think that's a fun topic. How do you keep yourself going? Like to do $200,000 in business and sales alone, plus managing the business and all that, what's a tip maybe you could share with someone watching about how to properly make sure you have the energy to do that, the excitement, the enthusiasm, what keeps you going?
For me, I really just love my job. That's the only thing. I love it so much that people feel it. And they call me and they refer me because they like me. So
Yeah.
I'm not working that hard. I don't see it that much because even when I'm working from home, I'm not working. I'm off. I always say that I take off.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But
No,
I'm
I
working,
love that.
but I'm not.
No, I'm happy you found that because that's a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't have that, right? That sense of like, I love what I do, and I mean, for sure, a lot of business owners do love what they do, but they sort of lose the passion for it, especially after like 4 years or something. It becomes very mechanical, and there's just no more passion. Cool. So it sounds like you're at this a very interesting threshold that happens very commonly in businesses, especially small businesses, is that point where you need to hire, like basically delegate and leverage more people. And so it is pretty easy easy when it comes to hiring like people to do the work, because it's simple in terms of what the work is and how to teach it, right? When it comes to like cleaning or painting or things like that. Of course, yes, it takes time and effort to really train them, but it's pretty easy. When it comes to sales though, it's difficult because it's really like, it's the front end of your brand, right? They're like the first people that your prospect sees and gets an impression of what your business is going to be like. And so it's very difficult for a lot of people to make that move and have faith and trust that this person can represent me and my business the way that I want it to be done and the way that I've been doing it, right? It's your baby. It's something that really matters to you.
Exactly.
So this is definitely very common. So basically what I want to do is go down the route of sort of training, leadership, all that kind of stuff. And so first off, the first thing you want to do when it comes to finding someone to take on a role like that is you need to determine what are the principles and values that individual must have. And so what I mean by that, and this is relevant to any relationship really, right? It's not just with business, it's like with your boyfriend and so on and so forth, or girlfriend, whoever's listening, that you have to have the same principles and values, because if you don't have those, no matter how great the sex is or whatever it is, it's never gonna last. And so the same thing is true for your employees. So you need to determine what are the principles and values that they need to have. So this is things like, they need to, of course, they need to be very punctual. Right? This is extremely important with those first impressions, is punctuality. They need to, actually, let's think of something. Let's play a bit. So what are some principles that you think would be important for your sales rep, someone who is representing you, to have some beliefs or things about him? So punctuality would be one. What else do you think is very important?
Friendly.
Sorry?
I think being friendly.
Yeah. Friendly, courteous.
Yeah, exactly. I want people to feel that they can trust them right away. That energy, the good energy, we have to feel it right away.
Yeah, trustworthy for sure. Which kind of comes with, like, I guess, charisma at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else? A lots of respect for people, because we go in their house.
Yeah.
We have to be respectful. If it's dirty, they call us to get help, not to be judged.
100. That's a good point. Okay, so respect for people, but even just like non-judgmental kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Boy, I don't know if I'm gonna spell this right, but bear with me. So non-judgmental, I assume that's right. Yeah, that's a huge one, especially for your industry, right? Because you're gonna walk into some people that probably have a nasty home, and you gotta kind of keep that straight face and maybe not flinch if you smell that dog smell or whatever it is. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. I think another one would be just proper dress. I don't mean like dress like a women's dress. I mean dressing.
Professional.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do that. Professional. Great. And we can go into more of the rabbit hole about this, but really it's just like, what are the things that they need to sort of be kind of naturally? Like, these are things that, like, you can't really train, right? To a degree. Like, you can't really train friendliness. It's sort of just a way of being. Punctuality, again, yes, you can train it, but it's also like, like, you have friends that you can quickly identify, like, you just know, like, if you say show up at 5, he's going to show up at 5:15, right? Like, it's just, you just know that that's going to be the case. And so that's super important. It's, again, you can sort of give techniques and strategies, but it's a lot of people, it's just the way that they are. trustworthy, charismatic. Again, it's just like you said to yourself, it's sort of like an energy. It's just the way that they make you feel. And so these are things that are typically that you can't really train, is what these principles and values are. So you need to be very clear about what these are. So this is a starting point of finding the right person. If you have an interview with someone and they don't resonate with these things, I don't care how much experience they have. I don't care if they've sold in the cleaning industry for millions of dollars and all this kind of stuff. If they don't have the values and principles that you're looking for, they're done. All right. So this is number one. So from there, and I'll take, I don't know if I want to, do you want to take a screenshot of that or something? I'll take a picture for you.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, let me just keep that because I'm going to erase here. So I'll send that over to you afterwards.
I would like to. Thank you very much.
So next, assuming they have the principles and values, you know, that they really, that resonates with you, it's what you're looking for. The next thing you're going to want to think about is what are the skills that they need to either have or learn.
I don't know how to say that, but they have to be naturally a boss.
Okay. Okay. And you know what? That's a good point. First of all, it's more something that'll fit in principles and values, right? And that's kind of like confidence is sort of what being a boss is, right? So that's good. Skills is more tangible stuff, things that really can be learned. So it's something like, let's see, conversation skills, right? That's huge, of course, like, because someone who just goes in and cleans for you, it doesn't really matter if they can't converse super well, like as long as they know how to like be focused and detail oriented. See, that would be something that's important for your people that are going and cleaning. But someone who's going in and doing sales, you know, conversation is much more important, and it's a skill they need to definitely have. So then what are some other skills they might want? Organization could be one, right? Because they need to stay on top of what's going on with their client and what's going on with their schedule and so on and so forth. And again, this is something that can be taught because organization, there's so many tools out there and you can help them use the proper tool.
Yeah.
So what are maybe some other skills that your sales rep or someone that would represent your company that would be good to have?
Someone who take the lead to do something without me to have.
Initiative.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
that's something you can't learn. Like they have it or they don't. That's what I think. Yeah,
sort of. You're right, but sometimes a lot of when it comes to initiative, and I'm not going to get into too much depth about this, but things like initiative and sort of leadership, a lot of that is you need to create the space for them to have the opportunity to do so, right? And so this is your role as a leader, and a great example is, say I'm, you know, every time let's say you were in my business, you were my employee, and every time you went and did something out of initiative or whatever, and even if it was good, I would say like, don't do that, Stephany, I don't want you to do that kind of a thing, you know, stop doing that, right? Are you really going to continue to take initiative? Definitely not. And so there's a part of this where, yes, of course, there's sort of the innate ability to have that initiative, but then there's your responsibility to create a space as a leader for someone like that to take initiative. Yeah. There's an interesting balance with that. So, so again, I'll take a picture of this and we'll sort of move on to the next step. But again, you can go into more depths about this, but again, this is more like the actual skills that they have or that you need them to have and or that you want to train.
Yeah.
So now we have an idea of, we're starting to paint a picture of someone that we want, right? And this is what's important, is a lot of people, they kind of don't know what they're looking for in an employee. So when they meet with someone at the interview, and you're, you know, asking questions that, again, your questions aren't even that clear in the first place, you try to make the person fit the role, and you basically like almost justify how they're being or what they're doing because you're not even really sure what you're looking for. So you kind of like, you know, that's I'm not so sure about that, but I think that's going to be okay. And you're kind of like not clear on what you're looking for. So by starting to get some clarity on the individual, you're able to make sure that when you sit in front of someone, you know exactly what you're looking for. So as soon as they aren't in alignment with it, you know it's over, or they're in alignment with it, you can continue to move forward. So now what you want to do is with the values and principles and the skills that you have, you want to start designing your questions that results in finding out those things, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'll pull up the picture that I had just so I can have something to refer to. So for example, we had punctuality, right? So let's say we want to discover what their punctuality is like. Now there's an obvious one, which is like, did they even show up to the interview on time? But let's do questions. So the first thing is punctuality is like, okay, so did they show up on time? Other things, and you know, chime in, of course. What do you think are some questions that you could ask that would really help you with determining if this person is a punctual individual?
Oh my, good question.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
So one thing you could say is maybe like, how do you prepare to be on time? Could be something. Because here's the thing, you don't want to ask like, hey, are you someone who's usually on time? Like, duh, like, yes. But you want to really test, like, you can tell if someone's going to be on time or not by how they actually plan themselves to be on time. So something like maybe like, how do you plan to be, oh, Jesus, to be on time? And so what's fun about this is the answers can vary. So it can be something like, you know, once I find out that I'm going to be somewhere, I put it in my calendar as soon as I find out. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that I'm not, you know, somewhere that's out of range of that place. So let's say I had, you know, I was coming to this interview for 5 o'clock and I had something else to do before that was an hour away. I'm making sure that I at least have an hour and 30 minutes to get here or something, right? So you want to sort of like test them on, okay, well, what are your strategies and techniques to make this happen? And if they're literally like, oh, I just, you know, I hope for the best. Like, I don't know, I just jump on the bus, that makes sense. Or you'll see, you'll get a feeling. Some will speak with that confidence and that quick initiative of saying like what they're doing as a technique. And some will be kind of like, you know, I kind of do this. I don't really have a strategy. Like you'll hear it in their voice and the fact that they're not confident in their answer. That tells you that they don't really have a way to plan how they get on time. Now, this, of course, would then tell you, well, this person's probably not very punctual, right?
Wow.
So this is one question. Now, what you'll want to do is per value or principle that you're looking for, you want to ask, you know, 2 to 3 questions at least in different ways. Right, so it's kind of like I'm sure you've done personality tests before.
Yeah.
So you know, on a personality test, they'll ask you like the same question in 10 different ways. So it's kind of the same thing we're trying to do here. We're trying to discover the individual by asking them similar questions, but in different ways to really like get an accurate understanding of who this person is. So something else on punctuality. I don't know. Did you get a chance to think of anything during this time? What would be something else? Let me think here.
Nope.
Yeah, it's tough. This is and you have to, like, this is also another part too, is people don't appreciate the importance of hiring. And so well, they get it on a conceptual level that hiring someone is super important, but they don't get the mechanical level of how much effort needs to go into hiring someone. It's not just meeting with someone, asking them a few questions, and then getting a good sense of who they are. Like, you really need to be very accurate with it, because as soon as you bring them on board, you are taking a very big risk. Again, like we were saying, they're going to represent your company, your brand. They're going to, not only that, but even if, let's say, they're good with the client, but maybe they don't really jive well with the rest of the team, right? And then the team doesn't like them, and then your whole culture starts getting contaminated. And so things like this, you need to be very clear on before you bring them in, right? So how do you plan to be on time? Let's try to think of maybe one more here. Let's see.
About the punctuality?
Yes, I'm actually thinking one that would be fun is sort of challenge them. So like, what do you, here we go. What do you do when you know you're going to be late?
Oh.
These are long to write. Okay, So what do you do when you know to be late? So again, very interesting, right? This kind of a thing really speaks to someone's punctuality. There's so many layers of how this can come out. It can literally be like for example, my method personally, when I know I'm going to be late, as soon as I find out I'm going to be late, even if it's 5 minutes out, 15, an hour out, whatever, I call the client, I let them know, and then I give them a double time estimate of what I think I'm going to be late by. So if I think I'm going to be late by 5 minutes, I say I'm going to be about 10 to 15 minutes late potentially, something like that. And so 2 reasons for that. 1, you could be wrong, right? And you don't want to call again to say once again you're going to be late. That's kind of embarrassing. 2, if you were accurate with your original estimate of 5 minutes late and you show up 5 minutes late, but you told them 10, you're actually early now.
That's a good one.
But anyway, so that's sort of my method. But again, depending what they say, like they might literally say like, and you'll detect it very quickly. If they're super hesitant in how they answer, they don't have a system. They don't have a process. And I'm not saying like as soon as they're hesitant, just knock them out. But keep that in mind. As soon as someone hesitates, it's because they don't have a system or an actual like model in place that they follow consistently. So anyway, so we'll stick with those 2 for now. But you're sort of starting to get the idea with this, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I will take a picture of that. Okay. So then the big thing too is, so now we've got our questions. Now we want to start actually interviewing people, and that becomes a whole game in and of itself. Let's see, where do we want to start with that? So I guess the first thing is finding the right people that you even want to interview in the first place. There's a couple, like this is a whole topic in and of itself, but some high level quick things, where to find people. Obviously, you've got all these online places, Indeed, Kijiji even. I would stay away from Kijiji for employees, actually. Indeed is good. It costs, but it's higher quality. Facebook groups is a great place as well. My favorite, though, by far, and I always give this as a tip, is friends of current employees.
That's what I do.
Good. Yeah. So friends of current employees. And now in this situation, right, you want to try to be specific. So not just like, hey, do you know anyone who needs a job? But more like, who do you know who has had a sales position in the past? Or again, or relevant to your values and principles. Before we talked about punctuality, right? Who do you know who's very punctual?
Oh.
Right? Who do you know that's like super charismatic? Who do you know that's very good at communication? Right? And so you can start every single value principle you have, you can ask your team, each and every one of them, who do you know that's this? Who do you know that's that? Who do you know that's this? And they'll be like, oh, John is really good at that. Mark is really good at this, and so on and so forth. So you ask them what you're looking for, literally, not the high level, who do you know necessarily who needs a job, because that just doesn't work. Like, how would I know if my friend actually needs a job? Even if he has a job, he might be looking for one. Like, who knows, right? So I'd rather talk about an individual's personality or ways of being, because that's something that I can then reach out to them and say, hey, are you looking for work or something like that? And they can determine that with me. So that's what so now let's assume you've got people to call and so on and so forth. Then you want to, and now what's cool is you're obviously in a position of authority, so it's very easy to be a boss in this situation, right? Like as soon as you call and you're the person offering a job, they're like, little puppy dogs. So there's not too much to go into that. It's just keep that role seriously, especially in the beginning. Like I'm sure with your team, you're fun loving, you crack jokes, you smile, you laugh. Like I'm sure you have a great time with your team, but don't start that way, right? Mm-hmm. Start serious, because the fact is business first.
Yeah.
Right. I want to make sure that he understands that we're very serious about what we do in our business and the service that we provide and so on and so forth. Once that part is addressed, then we have fun, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's no fun without business, at least in this situation. Yeah. So again, you call them, pretty serious. Hey, blah, 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 from, just typical introduction. I received your resume, or your friend Mark told me about you, said that you might be a good fit for this position. I'd love the opportunity to meet with you and see if there's a position that would be available for you. And then just move on from there, schedule them in. Again, there's layers to this, but I'm not going to get too deep. But let's say you schedule them in. The important thing, though, the one thing that I really wanted to get to with this that a lot of people do as a bit of a mistake is during the interview, do not give signs of, I'm going to go with the word excitement. So I don't want you to be there and like, if they, let's say again, we have those punctuality questions and he answers to that first one of, or the second one, like, how do you deal with being late? And he answers like beautifully, perfectly, like you couldn't have gotten a better answer. I don't want you to be like, oh my God, that's awesome. Yes, this is great. I'm so excited that like, you don't want to give off that impression, because then you give up your power. At that moment in doing that, the person on the other side is like, oh, sweet, I got this. Yeah, no problem. And then not only do they have that sort of egotistical view of it, they might even actually lose perception of value of the position. Because think of it this way, right? If they now come to a space of thinking like, oh, I got this, it's like, wow, this wasn't so hard. This job must be kind of pathetic, right? Because think about it. Think about these companies that do like 4-month-long interviews, right? How seriously do you take that business because they just did a 4-month interview on you? Right? And so you got to, and now I'm not saying do that, but for sure, like during your interview, stay calm, stay very in that assertive, like I am the boss here and I am asking you questions, and you just stay straight faced during the entire time. Of course, you can smile when you say hi and bye and, be human. But during the interview, I want you to be like straight and just the way that you need to be. And so during that time of being that way, once you get to the end, you always simply leave it as, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that you came out, so on and so forth. What I'll do is tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to revise your resume and look over the answers that we went over today. And then I'll give you a call within the next 48 hours to let you know if I would like to move forward to the next step, assuming there's a next step, or let you know if, you've gotten the position, right? So you do not give an answer at the interview ever, because again, like I said, it devalues the position. It becomes too easy, right? But if people really like fight for the role, they see the value in the role. They see that it's something they need to commit to and really put energy into. And so if they get it, they really feel like they've achieved something. Cool. Okay. So any questions about that part, at least?
It's actually awesome. I can't wait to start doing that.
For sure. So this is all sort of coming together, right? So we have an idea of who we want, right? We kind of know where we want to go to get them. We know that once we're there and we ask these questions, we stay strong, we stay in our position of boss mode, and now we have candidates, people that we really want to look at, right? And so, of course, what you'll do is you match all their answers to the principles and values and so on and so forth. And depending on how much depth you want to go into this, you can literally add weighted value to things. Now, I'm not going to go into that too much because I don't think it's going to be super important yet. But as a concept, just to let you know what it means, is if, let's say, you had, again, all these different principles and values, some principles and values may be more important than others. And so the weighted value of those being good in the individual are more important than another. Right? And so, for example, let's just use 2 examples, punctuality and communication. I'd say that communication is probably more important than punctuality because, again, even if you're not super punctual, but you know how to communicate that you're going to be late and so on, you're good. So let's say the weighted value of communication is 10, whereas punctuality is 5. And let's say they score like 100% on punctuality, but they score like a 50% on communication. Well, that weighted value will end up being at 10, right? Because 100% of 5 is 5, 50% of 10 is 5. So you'd have a total value of this person on those 2 things of 10. Now, let's say someone else comes in, scores 80% on communication and 50% on punctuality. Now that person has 10.5 score. Right? Even though neither of them were at 100%, mathematically, he's a better candidate. Now, I don't think that you have to go into that kind of a thing right now, so don't worry too much about that. It's just like, later on, or if in the end, reach out to me in the future if you ever want to do that kind of a thing. But yeah, so then that's where you are. So this is the finding the right person. Now, how much time do we have left here? Okay, we still have some good time. We can go deeper. We can have some fun here. Is this work like good for you so far?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. So next I want to talk about, you've got them in. Now what? Right? You've got the person, you really like them, they've got the principles and values, you're excited to have someone new on board. So the next step is going to be the scary but important training. right? So training, especially when it comes to sales, is, well, first of all, it's super fun, but it's going to cost a lot in the beginning, right? It's going to cost time, it's going to cost clients, but of course, what the value of it is pretty quick, especially if you chose the right person in the beginning. Pretty quick, they will start to pay themselves off tenfold, right? Because you're going to get them to the point where they're able to have a lead come in right at the top there that we started, right? They're going to be able to see that lead come in and do that entire process without you needing to say a thing. All you find out is, hey, I just got us a sale and I need you to book it. Or again, you trained them how to book it. So that potential is worth the cost of getting them there. Right? So that's something important. But again, this is where a lot of people get stuck, is they're like, I don't want to go through that cost. I don't want to risk it. I don't want this. I don't want that. But then you end up limited by your own capacity. And so you get stuck, right? Like if you did exactly what you're doing right now for this 2019, you'll probably end up at 200,000 again, maybe 225 or something like that. But you're not really going to go much higher unless you put in more of your own energy, time, and effort. But then if you do that, you're sacrificing your life, your balance. You have less time with your boyfriend or with traveling or whatever. And that's not what we want. So we either want the same business and more freedom, or a bigger business, same amount of freedom, right?
True.
So training in sales is actually a lot of fun. That's why I'm a sales coach. But so first off, and this is, again, another place where people get stuck, and why where I come in value a lot, is you need to have systems in place, scripts and templates, all these things that when someone comes in, it's not like, okay, what do I do? And then you don't really have anything other than like, watch me. Like, that's not super good. So what you're going to want first is systems, right? And this is systems like a CRM. I assume you have like a CRM or something.
What is that?
So a software that helps you manage your clients, or do you just use like a Google Sheet or Excel sheet?
No, actually, I'm all in the contact and stuff. Like, I don't have any template right now.
Cool. I mean, that's totally fine. Again, a system is just basically like something that you follow as a structure, right? That like, okay, when this happens, I do this, and then I do this. And as long as it allows for a comfortable flow that the client ends up happy at the end, which clearly is what's happening, then you have a system. So that's a good start. So systems, something that someone can come in on and say like, okay, there's something in place for me to follow. Scripts, templates. So scripts are, I mean, pretty obvious. It's literally what are they going to say? Now, a script is for the beginning of the training, and it's something that they want to practice at home with friends, with you. You'll role play and so on and so forth. And it's also, of course, something they're going to do on their estimates. But once they get good enough, they're no longer going to follow the script at all. Like, that's not the point. The point of a script is not to follow it letter to letter. It's to have them understand what they need to do to get to the sale on a word-by-word basis. And then from there, they're able to put in their own style, put in their own feel. Like, they're not going to be Stephany 2.0. They're going to learn from Stephany and then create their style, kind of thing, as long as it's in alignment with your values and principles, of course. Templates are things like email responses, voicemails, just all these kinds of things that happen very often, and that you don't want to, again, at least in the beginning, you don't want them to come up on their own, right? So like when you book an appointment, you should be sending a confirmation email, right? I mean, I don't know if you're doing that yet, but you should be, and especially with someone who's starting out, and they shouldn't have to design what that would be and how to say it, and especially not have to do it every time. There should just be a template where all they do is change the name, the date, the time, and they just send it off, right? Everything else is already fulfilled. I'm excited to see you, like all that kind of stuff. So this needs to be there first. They need to really be coming into something like this. And this is good, one, because without it, again, they won't do well. But two, it creates more credibility in you and your business, right? Because when they walk in, they see all this stuff like, wow, okay, this is real. This is legit. I'm not just like coming in as a grunt with like, nothing going on. It's like, this is a serious position. And then they take it more seriously.
Yeah.
So now that we have this, we want to follow the technique. And I learned this actually from a great mentor of mine. Well, I mean, everything I've learned is probably through mentors, but so what we want to do next is doragi. So doragi is demonstrate, observe, re-demonstrate. My writing's probably crap. Assign a goal. Let me see. This one is inspect. What is the G? I need to remember. Blanking a little bit right now. Demonstrate, observe, read. Demonstrate, assign a goal. Is it feedback? Well, hopefully those come back to me. But basically, so Doragi, what it is you're going to demonstrate by showing them how it has to be done. And so in sales, all that'll be is they come on appointments with you, right? And so what you want to do for sure, though, is before they come out to an appointment, is they've read the scripts, they've checked out the templates, like they already know at least an idea of everything in the background. It's not like their first time ever seeing anything. They have an idea of what's going to happen. Because if they come to it without knowing what the basic scripts are, and they see how you do it, because you're good, right? You don't do the exact same thing every single estimate. You know probably how to work like with the individual and how they are and so on and so forth. So you kind of modify from estimate to estimate. So it'll be confusing to them if they just come into that and then see you do like 5 estimates and every one of them is different. So you want them to get an idea of what the script's going to be on a fundamental level, right? So that every time you're doing an estimate and you say, and you know that they have this fundamental level, then you can come out of the estimate after and say, okay, so you know how in the script it usually says this is this. The reason why I did this instead was because, and then they learn, and then they learn. But you always want to bring it back to that script, right? This is the base. Here's why I did this differently. Next one, this is the base again. This is why I did this differently this time. And they can learn from that way, but they need to have that foundation. So you demonstrate. Next is the scary one, which is you get them to do it, right? And this is always, especially in sales, it's super fun with a new employee. You kind of just throw them in the water. And again, like this is where the cost is a little bit. Like you probably will lose a couple clients, but it's okay because it's just the beginning. And what's important here is you have to try very hard to not jump in. And so you're going to be there and you're going to watch. And you'll let the client know, right? You'll say like, hey, Mrs. Jones, you know, my name is Stephany. I'm actually the owner of the business, and John's actually going to be taking care of the estimate today. I'm just going to be watching him. He's pretty much in the hot seat, so you don't even really have to pay attention to me, right? It's like, okay, great. And then from then on, it's client and trainee. That's pretty much it. Unless there's some like super complex questions that he can't answer, then obviously, you know, jump in. But as much as possible, if they screw up, let them screw up. Okay, and then just take notes. Take notes. That's it. Come in with a binder. Take notes. Don't let them see you like the notes. Don't let anybody see the notes. Okay. So you observe, 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 and of course, once you're done the estimate and you've observed, you go over the notes, right? And so this is now we're getting into coaching and training and so on and so forth. Never just be like, oh, this is all the stuff you did bad. You know, this was stupid. This was bad. like you're just going to depress them. Start, of course, with what they did well. Right? Like I really liked how you talked about the company in this way, and you said this about the company, and you said that about the company. Like that's really good, right? Start with the good. Then talk about the constructive. Like here's where you could improve, right? I noticed that there was this, and this. Do not give more than 2 to maximum 3 things to improve on. So even like on the first one, you might have a list of like 10 things that they sucked at. Just focus on like the 2 to 3 that are most important. And then what you want to do is, okay, so for the next estimate, here's what I want you to focus on the most. If you do this on your next estimate, you will have succeeded, whether or not you get the sale. Perfect. Right? So you build up on him. It's like, okay, great. So now they're focusing on making sure that next time they ask for the job, right? Because maybe he didn't ask last time. So it's like, look, next time I just want you to make sure no matter what happens, you ask for the job, right? Yeah. So then boom, next time they ask for the job, you get back in the car or whatever it is, you say, great job. You did exactly what we said you needed to do. You asked for the job. We didn't get the sale and that's okay, but you asked for the job. So congratulations. Now let's talk about the next thing. So I noticed
Right.
this is where you can improve, this is where you can improve, boom, next thing, and you just go like that, and you're just building, right? Block, 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 block. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So now what you'll have to do often, of course, is you demonstrate, observe, and then you might have to re-demonstrate. So that's simply you just doing it over again, right? So like, let me show you how I would have done this or whatever. So you can jump in and do it again. And you sort of go in that cycle over and over again. Now, when you get to this last 3 portion here, this is where it gets scary again, is you want to let them go out without you.
Oh my.
Now, this can take a while, don't worry, okay? And here's your sort of rule of thumb, you want to write this down probably, is it's time to delegate when they can be at least 80% as good as you. Okay? 100% is impossible. Let them go out once they're about 80% as good as you, and they'll figure out the rest of the 20%. So that's what you're going to do here. Once they're 80% as good, you got to start letting them go. And so this is when you're going to assign a goal. So it's like, okay, you're ready to go and start doing your own estimates for you. What I want you to do is by the end of the week, I want you to complete 5 estimates on your own. Okay, start simple, right? Like, again, not sales, just get through 5 estimates, and then we'll reconvene and see how that goes. Now, again, it's not coming back to me what the G is, but not a big deal. Inspect is important, though. Inspect is going to be once you get to the end of the week, you see, okay, how did you hit your 5 estimates? Yes, I did. Great. How do you feel you did? You know, how was it? What went well? What didn't go well? What could have been better? Like, just break into it, right? Get into it. Support him. He says like, I feel like I could have done this better. It's like, okay, well, what did you do? I did this. It's like, okay, well, what do you think you could have done better? Well, if I had done this would have been good. It's like, okay, yeah, for sure. You're totally right. I would actually maybe do it like this, and just have some fun, go back and forth. This person is going to very quickly, again, especially as a salesperson, is going to very quickly become a close friend of yours. Right? Because they become sort of like a partner almost, which is really cool. And so once you're done the inspection, you can either reset it or really just completely let them go. So you can either reset it, and if there's like some main things they just really couldn't get, and they're telling you like, I'm really not sure about this or whatever it is, then you can go back and start again with them. Right? So you go back to demonstrating and so on and so forth, go through the whole cycle. So that's pretty much how you go through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I'll take another picture of that.
Thank you. I was too husky.
Okay. So now the only other thing that I'll add to this real quick is, so now let's say you went through all this, it's super good, everything is great, they're going ahead and so on and so forth. The next thing that's going to sort of potentially happen, and how much time do we have here? 58. Okay, we're pretty much at the end. So this will be my last tip. And it's sort of a leadership thing, which is they need to continue to grow or else they'll move on. Right? And so if you just stop it here and you just let them go out and make sales and hit goals and make money, like that's all great. They'll make commission, they'll be happy, they'll have money and so on and so forth, but they will not feel fulfilled in their soul. Right? They'll feel fulfilled in their mind and in their needs and so on and so forth, but their soul will cry for more. And the only thing you can do to satisfy that soul is to make sure that you're continuing to help them grow. Now that could, of course, be in sales, which it should be, right? Keep helping him and educating him and giving him books to read and so on and so forth. But anything as well, anything that you can do that helps him grow as an individual builds loyalty to you and the brand.
Yes.
Right. And so what that will result in is, even if, say, one day he gets offered a better sales commission job, because you have invested your time, effort, and energy into him beyond just, making a better paycheck, but really helping him become a greater person, he will more than likely say no to it. Or if he says yes to it, he will forever be loyal to you. He will forever, refer people to you. He'll just be your number one advocate, basically.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it on that. So this has been a pretty intense session. Has it been helpful?
It's a lot of information.
For sure. So let's try to make it like a little bit more simple, because it definitely was a lot of information. I'm going to send you all the pictures, all that kind of stuff. But let's try to break it down. What are 3 primary things that you took away that you want to start taking action on, like this weekend, or at least like next week? 3 main things.
I have to learn how to delegate, how to find someone to trust. The script are definitely something important. And what else? Pretty much everything. Like, it's so much.
For sure. And that's why I don't want you to think of everything. I want you to focus on, from what you can remember right now, what are the things that really were most important, because you're not going to do all of this in a day. It's just, there's no way.
No.
So it's really like, what's going to be most important right now, you think? So you said, delegation, script. So basically just finding someone in the first place.
Yes, I think interview will do a huge difference now that I just learned what you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I have to change the way I was doing. I was too friendly. I have to be more boss, more entrepreneur, and not friend.
Yeah, 100%. You become friends once that he's proven himself as a, effective, loyal, powerful, or whatever you want to call it, employee. Only at that point can you truly become friends.
Exactly. That's my main thing. I think that I have to change that for sure.
Okay, cool. So boss interviewer, I agree. Now you wrote sort of delegate finding someone. I'll actually challenge you and say, because before you can even do that, of course, you need to know who you're looking for, right? So that was sort of where we started with this whole thing. So what I'm going to write for you instead is clarity on, let's say, candidate. You know what candidate is, right? Okay, good.
Yeah.
On candidates. That's going to be huge, right? If you know what that is, then you'll be able to actually find someone. Then you'll be able to ask for someone. Then you'll be able to find someone. Right?
Exactly.
Scripts, yeah, you know what? I definitely agree with that. Again, if you take someone on and you don't have these things in place, one, your job's going to be a lot harder, right? Like, how do you train someone without this kind of stuff? And two, they just won't be coming into something that's established, sort of thing. And then, yeah, boss interviewer, love that. And you'll see it's a lot of fun, especially because, like, a lot of people, when they're interviewers, they're like, they almost feel scared themselves. They're like, oh, what if he thinks that I'm not actually like that impressive or this or that? And it's like, a lot of time interviewers forget that, like, they're freaking out right now. Like, they're not thinking about what you might be screwing up on. They're really thinking, like, what does he think of me right now? Am I going to get the job? Like, da-da-da-da. Especially if you just, even if you're screwing up, as long as you keep that straight face, that boss face, they're just going to keep, like, being worried about themselves, not worried about you. So that's a very good point. Cool. So let me take a picture of that, of course. All right. So I'll send you all those pictures once we're off here, but that's pretty much it for today. So did you have anything else you kind of wanted to mention to maybe the audience, or something that you wanted to ask me before we jump off?
Actually, no, I think it was amazing. I'm so happy that you took me for the hot seat tonight. It's perfect. Like, I'm very happy.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on last second like that. But yeah, it was a fun topic. I originally wanted to go into sales, but in the end, I coach on business, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, for those of you watching, I hope that you got some value here. If you did, I'd love to hear about what it was. So maybe write in the comments, like, what's one takeaway that you're going to take action on in the next week or something like that, or that you think is very important. And of course, I want to keep this going. I want to have one every week on the Fridays at the same time, 6 o'clock Eastern. And so, yeah, if you guys really think that it's valuable, I'd love it if you continue to tune in. And then finally, if you do want to either be on the hot seat, right, you can also comment that in the comment section below. So you can let me know if you'd like to be on one. There's still a couple spots available. And then finally, if you're just looking to have more personal, longer-term coaching relationship, you really wanted to get, because even with this, we're still very high level. We saw so much more we could have gone into. So if you really want to take a deep dive, I'd love to get on a call with you. We can work a little bit and see if there's an opportunity to work further. So once again, Stephany, really appreciate you tuning in for this, and everybody watching, I hope you have an ultimate closer day.
Thank you very much again.
Right,
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.